All right. While we wait for those other people to join us on the panel, we'll definitely get started here. Welcome, everybody, to the bullpen. If you're just tuning in, my name is Cody. I will be your host for today. Thanks for our panelists taking time out of their busy schedule to join us for this great topic of when AI meets RWAs. So definitely got some good stuff out there cooking for you in question-wise. So excited to get in here. But before we do, let's jump in and start going around the horn and kind of introduce our panelists. So if you guys want to take about 30 seconds to a minute to tell us who's behind the handle and what you guys are building or working on, that would be fantastic.
Thanks for having me again, CEO Archify. Well, we've been here before, but let me quickly introduce Archify. So what we've seen in DeFi has a problem. Yield models are often unsustainable or backed by inflationary tokenomics rather than real assets. So this is what we're trying to solve. Meanwhile, RWA's real-world assets are booming, and most projects lack liquidity or credible investment structures. So this is what we offer from Archify: yield-backed RWA investment vaults that allow you to invest in tokenized assets like watches, car, and fine art, with a stable assets-backed APY and a potential upside to almost 50% based on the business model. So I think we're one of the few protocols that actually can clearly explain where the yield is coming from. We're trying to make the world better.
Love it. Love it. Welcome back. Welcome back. So, yeah, thanks for being here. Matt, let's go on to you.
Yeah, grateful to be here. AI and RWA is the intersection that we live at. So my name is Matthew Schneider. I'm the CEO of Building Inc. You can take away that we're focused on the tokenization of real estate. It's a tough nut to crack, particularly because a lot of the data that exists within real estate is hard to access and it's unstructured. So we need some sort of tool that can use computation power to get all of that information, and that happens to be artificial intelligence and machine learning. That it's essential for structuring information about the properties, about the deals, and then presenting that in an institutional manner so that when we do tokenize the real estate, it's a high quality tokenization. It's not just a wrapper, but it's something that has really defined value. And if we can do this over and over again, the process of collecting data, cleaning it, structuring it, and then presenting it, we get a little bit more transparency and insight into that underlying asset. Usually you need a person doing what we call 10-finger automation, working around the clock to get all this information prepared, valuations created, and then putting that on chain. But if you've got an AI tool, that's certainly one way to cut a corner and create a constant loop of data flowing on chain and representing these assets so that they're really trustworthy, worthy of collateral, and tradable.
Awesome. Well, welcome back, Matthew. Appreciate it. Let's go back to see if we got Tech Talk. Can we hear you now?
So yeah, I'm a dev. I've been around about 35 years doing dev work and setting up a tech channel where I talk about blockchain, AI, kind of whatever just comes to mind at the moment. And I love the idea of RWAs and all of the potential that we have here. And like the previous person said, it's all about getting the access to the data. And once you actually have some type of access to the data, the world opens up. AI, data analysis, all kinds of digging into it.
Love it. Love it. Welcome. Welcome. Let's keep moving on. Got a pretty large panel today. So let's go with Soulbound. Yeah, you're up next.
Hey, what up? Back-to-back spaces, guys. And yeah, just happy to be here and get to listen. What are your takes on RWA? So yeah, just gotta make it short so you can give other speakers their shot.
Brother, you are definitely becoming a legend in the spaces. I think you're almost up there with the amount of spaces that Mark does on a weekly basis. So congrats, man. That's awesome. Zip Clash, go with you next.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Marcello, head of spaces here at Zip Clash. Quick introduction about ourselves. We are a mobile cooking simulating game The points you earn in the game go towards food vouchers, which you could use IRL. So think of playing the game, and then you could use these points for your favorite spots to eat some food. So not necessarily RWAs, but some real world utility here with our game. But yeah, super happy to be here. See some legends already. Thanks for having us.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us, Marcello. It's always good to have you on Spaces. So let's keep it going, and let's go over to Mark, a.k.a. King Snooch.
Yo, GM. I'm sorry, I had to bring a little bit of energy there because I'm excited. What's up, brother? I'm assuming that's Cody because I know that voice very well. What's up, GM again? And Marcello, absolutely love you. You're my fucking favorite person in the space. So excited to be on here. I do have a little bit of sad news. I do have to dip halfway into the space because an emergency call came up that I have to do with family. But yeah, excited about this. AI honestly has been impressing the hell out of me. It's developing so fast. And I'm kind of curious, what's going to happen when that integrates with RWAs because, I mean, both things are moving really quickly into space right now. So excited for this conversation, brother.
Oh, that means that you're going to have to jam pack a whole bunch, like a whole hour into like 15 or 30 minutes. So I expect the banter to begin. All right, let's keep going. Robert, you're up next.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. So I'm Robert. I'm a BD specialist with Oasis. We're all focused around privacy and how to support that in basically any application. So we have a privacy EVM blockchain, which in terms of RWAs means, tokenization and transfers and that sort of thing. But also we're building an off-chain solution that supports private AI. So we're kind of trying to do everything related to privacy. And I think it's sorely needed in the crypto space. We've had a couple solutions here or there for transfers and that sort of thing, but not really a good generalizable solution for any privacy need. So that's really what we care about.
Love it. Love it. Welcome. And last but not least, Fuse AI. Go for it, my friend.
Hey there. What's up, everybody? Grateful to be here. Thank you, Cody, and the rest of the panelists, Matthew, and everybody that I'm starting to see here around these parts. I'm Rick. I'm the business development manager for North America for Fuse AI. When we're not just building artificial intelligence, we're actually building intelligent assets. My background is about 3 decades deep in tech, system design, and decentralized strategy. And the reason why I'm with Fuse is really simple. We're not layering AI on top of Web3. We're actually making AI native to the value layer itself. Fuse is building AI agents. They're self-evaluating, tokenized entities that don't just automate, they think, they act, and they earn across digital and our physical ecosystem. So when we're talking about RWAs, we're not just talking about how to tokenize real-world assets. We're actually asking things like, what happens when those assets can think for themselves? What happens when ownership meets autonomy? And that's where the next wave lies. That's where Fuse is already operating. So thanks for having me today.
Love it. Love it. I feel like there's so many deep rabbit holes we could go down. Just that, my friend. Love it. I love it. All right. Well, thanks everybody for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us. We've definitely got a great lineup, as you can tell, on our panel for this discussion. And likewise, thanks to all of our listeners tuning in. We appreciate it. We couldn't do these spaces without you. So if you haven't done so already, I would definitely give these guys a follow. They are definitely some legends building in the space of RWAs and AI. Likewise, Receivable is, we're a business that focuses on the backbone of the global economy, which are small businesses. And if you're not familiar with what we do, we basically help provide fast, flexible funding to funders who help those small businesses get the funding that they need, and using revenue-based receivables for basically unlocking that liquidity to help them grow, help them scroll, and help them just automate their operations all across the board. So we are definitely in the RWA space, and we are privileged to be here and have all of these great great legends with us as well. So with that being said, please give this space a share so that we can get it out to the masses and beat the algorithms. It definitely helps. But let's just kind of jump into the first question. So the first question is probably a good one, but let's kind of go from there. Not a traditional popcorn kind of question and answer that you're going to get with this one, but definitely interested in your takes on it. But will AI with RWAs, will AI eventually tell me what items I can tokenize in the real world in the future? Zip Clash, go for it.
Yeah, I was definitely coming into this thinking where AI, when it comes to data and what it's going to be able to provide, right off the bat, I definitely think, it's definitely going to be able to drive, tell you, drive you in the right direction on where, to put your money, or what is the next hot item, or what next hot RWA that you should be paying attention to. So, I think when it comes to AI, I think, following market trends, being able to follow charts, being able to follow what's happening in the market, I think, definitely think AI will be playing a massive role in that over the next decade, probably already over the next year. We've already seen so much development with AI over the last couple of years. I can't even imagine where it goes with this. And you guys already know, it literally takes one update or one new thing, and overnight things are just different, right? So I definitely think with AI, it's going to be telling us what to buy, what to pay attention to, what's the next market trends, where to, where things are going. And I definitely think AI is going to be a huge help when it comes to that over the next couple of years.
Fuse, go for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, I think it's already starting. Here at Fuse, we believe that the real unlock isn't just AI managing RWAs, it's AI discovering them, right? So think about it. AI has the bandwidth to analyze millions of data points, market trends, legal frameworks, IoT signals, and user behaviors all in real time, right? So that means it can identify untapped and undervalued or invisible assets long before humans ever would, right? So we're talking about AI agents that can scan global supply chains and flag tokenization opportunities and unused land, which, might interest people like Matt, local carbon credits, surplus energies, even rainfall data, even loyalty behavior, community governance. So these aren't just things we tokenize, right? They're patterns of value that AI helps us see clearly. So yes, in the future, AI won't just tell us what can be tokenized. It'll definitely help us define what value even means. And and what we're building here is an intelligence layer to make that insight usable, ownable, and deployable across all the real world ecosystems.
Yeah, great take. I've got some follow-up questions, but we'll go to these other speakers first. So, Matthew, I think you had your hand up first.
Yes. So to add on to what Fuse was saying, I think he said his name was Rick. Apologies if not. Not only can we quickly identify what assets are good, but in real time, we can run reassessments and determine whether the assets are no longer good. Real world assets, because they exist in a world of chaos, are always somewhere on a spectrum of opportunistic or highly risky. And if we can continue to update that on chain and give people that sort of oversight of their assets sitting in their portfolio, they'll have a better idea of when they want to buy, sell, and trade something, depending on the quality of the asset, the financial instruments, and even the status of the chain that it's sitting on if there's a lot of liquidity. You need artificial intelligence to do that just because of the sheer amount of not only computation required, but the prediction, right? We can look back and say, well, maybe this asset is cyclical and it is prone to damage during hurricane season. Let's start to move it out of our portfolio before that season reemerges and just have this living, breathing flowing of assets. I think that's what people really envision with DeFi. Instead of I'm in a deal, I'm in a real estate asset and I'm stuck with it through thick and thin, even if the thing burns down. We want to be a little bit more proactive. And if AI helps us see around corners that way, not just identifying the good opportunities that could be tokenized or have been, but when they start to become red flags, how do we recognize that and act on it quickly?
Great point. All right, Mark.
Trying to find the unmute button. I got it. I'm gonna be the negative Nelly here and do my spicy takes, but I'm not sure I'm ready for AI to be able to have that much control. I think the thing that AI can help with is helping with the research, but not. I don't think AI should be used as advice or advisory, like saying, hey, this is what's going to pump your bags. Hey, this is the project that's going to give you the best return. I think AI should be used as something that, how can I word this? Something that is able to do the research faster for you and be used as a tool, but not as an advisor. I think that's where I kind of draw the line at this point in time right now. Maybe, who knows, maybe 2 or 3 years from now when AI is better regulated and more secure and safe and more trusted, that opinion of mine might change. But at the current state, I don't think AI is in the point where I would want to use it as an advisor.
That's a good take. I'm glad you brought that up. I think that there's a lot of projects out there that are currently building with AI that are looking to run before they crawl, before they walk, or crawl, walk, all that kind of stuff. But I think that is a valid point, valid concern that a lot of people do have. But yeah, interesting to hear what Matt has to say. His hand shot up pretty quick.
Yeah, I'd say a lot of the tools that people want to deploy for AI are all narrow AI. And so they might be able to identify some sort of trend specific to that asset class. But the reason why an advisor would win in this circumstance is because they have context, they have wisdom to say, this sort of trend is not to be unexpected, especially when taken into consideration of this other variable that AI would never be able to pick up on. And this is what humans are good at. But over the next few years, as AI becomes not just more broad, but general, the context or the wisdom is going to be present. And I think we will start to rely on artificial intelligence, not just for recognizing trends or picking up on good and bad indicators within an asset or an investment, but to act on that quickly. And especially as portfolios grow, it's going to make sense to rely on agents rather than a team of analysts who might be just as prone to error, as compared to AI, maybe even more so because humans have emotions. An AI should not be reacting on any sort of fear or greed in a market circumstance. This is what people don't do well, where we add in the psychological component and we start moving assets, buying and selling because we're just too excited about it. Hopefully AI does not do that, and it becomes a remedy to that in the advisory perspective.
I think you brought up a good point there that AI does take out the emotion in a lot of this, which gives you the potentially a clearer picture on the information that's being provided. I do like that element that you just added. Let's go over to Tech Talk. Go for it.
I think some of that will become possible once we actually have better infrastructure, which would be aggregation of RWA assets and other data that will actually allow us to start getting to the point where we could actually have it understand trends better and understand what's good, what's bad, and all the indicators. So I think we have an infrastructure issue first that needs to be solved. And then secondly, when it comes to the AI taking emotions out, to some extent, yes, but based upon what it's trained on. I don't know if anybody's heard the whole, if you offer to tip AI, it actually gives better responses. That's not emotion, but that's actually, since the data it's been trained on says, well, when I get offered money, I do a better job. So it's doing it based upon its training. So we have to make sure that whatever AI we're using is trained on proper data and proper understanding of these human interactions.
Yeah, and I think it's good to point out too that there's private AI platforms that are being used, and then there's commercial, right? And so there is a huge difference between the ChatGPT I can't even talk today. The chat GPT that we're using today, to help us with this or that type of thing is far different than the ones that are being used on the private side of everything. And so I think that there's a clear definition of things that need to be trained and where that information's coming from as well. So yeah, great call out on that. Matt, you got your hand up again.
Yes, one final thing that I would add is about the aggregation or access to data. It's so limited right now, especially in private markets where the RWAs live. This is why humans still have to be involved, because we can receive a message on WhatsApp where someone tells us critical information that the AI just doesn't have because it's not circulating within the system. It might be able to read price changes or get a data feed from somewhere, but that's a very small portion of information. I can turn on the news and see that there's a crisis where my real estate is. And that's a very important for making informed decisions. So it's if there's a way to get all of this data accessible about the asset class, about the world around us, the people influencing it, and then feed that into an agent. And of course, it still has to be trained on all of it. Like, what do I make of it? If it doesn't know how to interpret weather patterns and use that to influence decisions in the investment of my solar farm, then it's sort of useless. And then even if I do train it, does it have a Warren Buffett mindset where you got to be greedy, where everyone's fearful? Let's double down on this investment class that is about to go under. So I agree that the presence of data and bias are going to heavily influence how AI can actually do anything in RWA.
That's the best point, in my opinion, about Web3 is users being able to potentially own their own data that they can plug into any of these products or services that they're going to be using, right? We look at the Web2 space. I'm not a huge fan of the term smart device. I think we can all agree that it's only as good as the person that programs it and the amount of data that they have behind it, right? And a lot of times those devices take millions and millions of petabytes of data in order to become smart. And 99% of the time they don't work with other smart devices, so they can't share any information from one thing to another to kind of give you that huge user experience, unless it's a product that's owned by the same company, because they're willing to share information from product to product that they own. I think in Web3 we have the opportunity to unravel that and make it so that a user can truly make a smart home, in a sense, kind of deal, which that's a great point that you brought up, Matthew. And okay. Yeah, I was just going to move on, but Soulbound's got something they want to say, and then we'll move on.
So yeah, I just had a quick question. So you're thinking about smart users. So how to make users actually profit out of all of this. Yeah, right.
Yeah. No. That's a good one. Smart users. Yeah, for sure. So, as we look to see how AI can definitely add guardrails in there for security and protection and advisory kind of thing. I think that, if we take a step further down into the rabbit hole of how AI can help RWAs, when it comes to the real estate investment side of things, if you invest in a house, you invest in some sort of structure, those structures are built with materials that have a certain lifespan, right? And so sometimes these are taken into consideration. We'll just use like a roof for an example, right? Like if you're buying a newer home, a newer building or something that is brand new, that's going to have a shelf life of at least 30 years before you're going to have to replace the roof, right? But if you're buying pre-existing, like a home, for an example, that's maybe 15 years old, yeah, your appraiser, your home inspection will tell you the age of the roof. But some of the other elements that they don't take into consideration is where you live, geolocation. Are you in a place that is tornado bound, hurricane bound, all these different things. And that's where I think that AI could really start playing a huge asset in determining kind of like the life or the shelf life of your investment. Curious what your guys' thoughts are on that kind of a deeper rabbit hole question. Matthew, go for it.
It happens to be my intersection. The first thing that I'd start out with is that seldom is all of that information about a property present. And when people tell me that they're tokenizing real estate, I kind of chuckle a little because it's really easy to tokenize a real estate. I really want to know what they're doing with the data. I want to know how they're running the underlying property. We can talk about artificial intelligence. Let's go back to human intelligence, the people who are responsible for maintaining that property, and move beyond houses. Go to a $500 million assets that's highly complex. Maybe it has its own renewable energy and a micro data center and a grid attached to it. It's got 300 residential units and retail space and office. This is something that is highly complex, even down to the ventilation and the framing and how it's built. That data is not captured, right? So it's not present. Sometimes you bring in architects and engineers who design things and then they throw away the model. So you have to go back to the human intelligence. Like, are we actually planning out the full life cycle of this investment class? And I think real estate is a good example because if you can solve this problem, you can solve any other tokenized RWA. Seldom are they more complex than real estate, from the financing of it to just the way that it's operated. I would say trade finance is close just because of how many parties are involved in supply chain. But the presence of data, you have to get it, and you have to create a culture out of it. You have to prep these firms or these current asset managers, whatever the asset is, to actually be collecting data and to be aggregating that and make it present, and to want to infuse some sort of artificial intelligence so that they can make the data-driven decisions for their portfolio, and maybe even to the point where it's self-sustaining because there's AI agents moving highly liquid representations of those assets. That's where I'll cap it. But yeah, first we just need to get the data, which people aren't doing.
Yeah, and so I guess that's a good question. How do we get that data?
It's not an AI question or an RWA question, unfortunately. And this is the irony of building. I started out to want to tokenize real estate, and now I'm talking to construction project managers, and I'm talking to people who are on site doing repairs, saying, please, can you highly document what you're doing for this asset? Can you get that into our data room so that we can digitize it and structure the data that's in it? The materials used, who, what, where, how, when, whatever, the metadata, essentially. Can we pull that out? And then can we use some of our proprietary tools to interpret that? It's a human issue. You can try to slap AI on top of anything, but if people have not prepared ourselves for that to leverage technology, then we won't make it very far. But there will be a clear edge in the market. Those who want to be competitive are saying, okay, if I want to use AI, I really need to be thinking about the data. What can I do to harness more data and protect it, to protect my intellectual property, get it on somewhere and get the most out of it, monetize it further.
Tech Talk, you had your hand up.
Well, I did, and then he continued on and covered what I was going to say. But yes, I agree. Data is the biggest thing, and it always is the biggest thing when you're building large systems that rely on the data. It's always about the clean data. How do you get clean data? How do you get it in the format you need with the details you need without tons of missing spots? Until we can solve that problem, then we have issues. And this goes back to data aggregation, is because you're also going to be bringing in data from so many disparate sources that you need to set standards and have at least that work and then start filling in gaps. Or do we wait till we have 75%, or do we just wait till we have 100%? It's such a big problem. It's such a big challenge. I imagine it's really something we should really probably start out small. And as you said, you're going out to construction sites, and you're dealing with service workers and everybody else trying to figure out how to make this all work. That's a huge challenge. There's tons of I've written a few software packages for the service industry, and every single one of them has just a huge list of things that are custom just to them and how they're dealing with it. And I can only imagine it's the same with real estate management, where you've got houses, you've got apartment buildings, you have corporate buildings, you have massive manufacturing buildings. It's like one package doesn't handle it all. So how do you put housing, houses, individual homes in the same system as multi-billion-dollar manufacturing plants? It's just difficult to standardize all that.
It definitely is a challenge. Definitely is a challenge. So, sorry guys, my Spaces on my phone is starting to act up, so I'm not seeing a whole bunch of hands, but I think we had Fuse and over the reality. If you guys want to go next, that would be great. But just feel free to jump in.
Excellent. Yeah, cool. Oh, thank you for that. Perfect timing too. And this is exactly where, and something we haven't really talked about too much, where AI accountability becomes non-negotiable, right? Because it's one thing to tokenize real estate. It's another to let AI help manage, optimize, and generate the yield from that asset over time. And that's why we're thinking about how to not just make AI useful, we're actually thinking about how to make it trustworthy at scale, and that means that every AI agent that we deploy is built with traceability, explainability, and permissioned control baked into its core. So, if an agent adjusts rental pricing, or if it reallocates a property's token yield, flags a compliance shift, or initiates like a maintenance contract, it's not just a decision that's made in the dark. It's transparent, it's logged, and it becomes fully auditable. I think auditability is really the key here, and as these agents become more autonomous, we're also building governance layers where ownerships, communities, DAOs, or property managers can define the agent's rules, thresholds, or even its right to act, right? Because in the RWA spaces, real lives, real land, real livelihoods are at stake. And we believe that intelligence without accountability is just risk, but intelligence with accountability, that's power you can trust, And so, we want to do things in a way that's transparent, adaptable, and always aligned with the humans that they serve.
Love it. Great statement. Let's go with over the reality.
Yeah, hey guys, really great topic. This is a perfect time to jump in. When you're talking about, hey Matthew, when you're talking about how to gather data for RWA, I know for over the reality we use DeepIn. So we have a community of mappers where they enter the Map to Earn program, and what they're doing is they're essentially gathering geolocation data. And that geolocation data is actually preparing for the oncoming physical AI ecosystem and infrastructure that we are soon going to be seeing built out. So although this topic is really good being focused on real estate and land development and stuff like that, there are other categories of real world assets that are kind of like behind the scenes, slowly in stealth and growing and whatnot. But just wanted to mention that it's really in the data gathering for community. It's. I think somebody said that was a tech talk who said it's human. It's humans. So right now we're in the beginning stages of collecting data. And I know for our community community collects data with their smartphones, and they literally physically walk outside and they use our app, and then they collect the geolocation data with their mobile phones. I just wanted to add that.
No, that's a great segue into kind of what I wanted to talk about as well. Is I feel like the greatest way for us to bridge this gap from Web 2 to Web 3 and get the data that we need is through the users, through the humans that are actually using this stuff, right? And so I'm of the belief that if you've got these data brokers that are collecting your digital footprint in Web 2, if they wanted to make another wave of money, they should make it so that you can basically tokenize your data that they've collected on you, your profile. I think that would be a fantastic way of being able to bridge that over and allow the users to basically monetize off of their own data that these broker guys are collecting on you. So being able to plug it into a variety of different products, services, things like that will only make the experience so much better. And that's, in my opinion, what Web3 is really about, is allowing you to customize how you consume data, how you interact with products and services, brands, things like that. So that definitely opens up a wide range of opportunity. Matthew, go for it.
I want to give the mic to Rob since his hand is up. I'll go after him.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, I think this is a perfect jumping in point for me. So in terms of data marketplaces and, data sharing and all this kind of stuff, privacy, like I said, is something we care about a lot. And obviously that's a main concern. So yeah, the question is like, how do you do all of this? And obviously, we have a solution for ourselves, but more generally, I really see, like TEEs being the future of this. I think they're such an underrated technology, but basically you can do any computation that you normally would do, any sort of, data manipulation, but do it in this black box. And, there's other solutions like ZK and stuff like that, but this is what we're focused on. And I think it just fits perfectly with what we're talking about here, where you need all these different components to come together and you needed to do it in a particular way so that users can share their data. But how do you actually do it safely? Like, how do you build something that people can actually trust? Because we've seen, data breaches and leaks, affecting, I guess, billions of people at this point. I think Yahoo was over 1 billion people. So everyone's affected by this. And, we need to build these things in a smart way using privacy. So yeah, that's what I wanted to chip in on. I think it's just super important we focus on that.
Totally. Definitely agree with you there. All right, Matthew.
Privacy can't be understated. We can talk about data and using it, but we also have to respect privacy. And I think blockchain is a really good opportunity to maintain privacy in private markets while unlocking the power of public markets. If we're talking about trading and investments and liquidity, there has to be access to a lot of information, but we need some sort of concoction where that data can be housed somewhere that is safe. It's not on new technology that can be easily compromised. And so really cloud is the best solution. But then you say, how do we get that data? How do we verify it? If it's still behind closed doors, how do we come to trust it? And that's where blockchain comes into this, because we can have authority or authenticated figures who are reviewing information. They give the green flag, the thumbs up, that gets hashed to the chain. And then any sort of number or valuation that comes out of that, we have a little bit more confidence in, because we know that there was some sort of mechanism or protocol used to verify this information and make that portion publicly available while still respecting intellectual property. If you want asset managers to participate, you have to understand that they have their own rules about what information can be made readily available. And if you tell them, well, just give us all your data and we're going to give it out to the world, they're going to say, no way, Jose, I'm not tokenizing. I'm not doing that method. So you have to play within their rules, or they're going to stick within TradFi forever. So respecting their privacy, but then introducing the benefits of these public markets, potentially more liquidity or distribution, that's how you'll get them to play along. And that's what we've done at Building, where we do have a data room that is set up. We're not putting stuff on chain or trying to use blockchains as file storage. We still leverage cloud, and there's trillions of dollars of infrastructure that has gone into that. So you might as well. And creating some method for information to be verified, then it's put on chain with a tokenized asset.
Totally agree. I think it's very interesting to, we've brought up data breaches, we've brought up privacy. For anybody that lives in the US, a lot of people don't realize that a lot of the insurance companies already leverage blockchain technology for storing their data. It's very rare that you ever hear of data breaches from medical type of companies like that because of the technology that they're using. But in a sense, with like the biggest offender, Target, and some of these other guys that have had some massive data breaches, they're still relying on those cloud servers, the servers that they host, those kind of things. And it's on the flip side of that too, is it's really interesting that, blockchain has the technology to protect people's privacy, protect their data like no other, but yet they're reluctant to go onto it because it's quote unquote public, that anybody can see it. But in reality, when it comes to Twitter, when it comes to all these different social media platforms, and even some of the banking institutions, through KYC, how many KYCs have we ever done? How many times do we have to link our bank accounts to certain products and services, right? We're freely giving up that information to people, even though it's behind quote unquote closed doors. It's really, that's more accessible than it would be on the blockchain, which has always blown my mind when it comes to that kind of stuff. Fuse AI, you had your hand up, and then we'll go back to Matthew.
Yeah, I just wanted to just pull it back, Cody, what you talked about earlier. You said something and you nailed it. The best bridge between Web 2 and Web 3 isn't just infrastructure, it's actually humans, right? And as we all know, the challenge with Web 2 is that people became the product. Our data's farmed, it's monetized and sold, and we didn't even get a thank you, right? So, but with Web 3, of course, we have this new paradigm where data becomes user-owned asset, and blockchain becomes accountability that protects it, right? So imagine an ecosystem where like we were talking earlier, your browsing habits, your biometric data, your creative outputs, even your emotional insights, right, are stored in an encrypted, zero-knowledge environment. And if you have AI agents that are trained by your own data, they can serve you with stunning personalization, but without, of course, exposing your data to third parties. And if you do choose to, share it, maybe for research, maybe for marketing, or even value exchange, you tokenize it, and you get paid for it. And that's what we're seeing. That's really what me personally, excites me personally, is that this isn't just privacy. This is the beginning of like user sovereignty. We've been talking about how we've been giving up our data for years, and so this is really the time where we can actually, get this whole entire movement back into where it's powered by private on-chain data, where we can give control to the keys to the users, and the value flows back to the users, not to the platform, and we're looking forward to a day where blockchain doesn't, people see blockchain not eroding privacy, but it actually becomes a very mechanism that restores it.
A freaking man. Love it. Matthew, go for it.
Yeah, super glad that Fuse jumped in there, because that's the point that I wanted to follow up on, which was about the monetization. If we go back to incentivization for this transition, being able to take control of your data and monetize it, that's huge. But it's also really great for something like real estate tokenization, where you have a lot of stakeholders and you wonder what's going to convince them to participate, to digitize so that we can tokenize. And it's knowing that perhaps down the line, the data that they're contributing is being monetized in a couple different formats, and that the money goes back to them. Perhaps it's an architect wondering, well, why should I hold on to the model for the building? I suppose it could be used so that the next time we replace something, we can look at the design and say, oh, here's where we install it. That's good. But maybe it's the intellectual property that the architect is most interested in, knowing that storing this and it's going to be used in the future for another development, and they still get attribution for that. That's going to be really, really interesting. And you start to see this marketplace of ideas where data and information are the ideas, and we want to contribute that because we know that we're going to get some sort of payout down the line, or even indefinitely. And we talk about AI agents making decisions for us. Well, they're making decisions based off of human decisions in the past, right? That's how we train them. And if our decisions, our wisdom, and our experience that we spend decades gathering can now be monetized, I'm going to be much more excited to contribute that in training the model. And I can be held accountable, right? If I've done something well, that is shown, and if not so, that's also highlighted.
Yeah, a few years ago, I was working on a sports app, and it was basically providing data to like places, manufacturers of sports equipment. We'll just use Nike as an example. They've got a shoe for an athlete. They've done rigorous testing on it, but because we were providing that data to a shoe manufacturer, they were able to apply the athlete's wear and tear on that shoe. So they were able to enhance the product itself, but also monetize and pay back the athlete for participating, for using their shoe, for providing the data, but also it allowed them to basically make recommendations on different sports equipment to help them better enhance their athletic sport that they were in. But on the same sense too, is make not only recommendations but also recommend when they should replace those shoes as well. And we've kind of talked about that already, but yeah, I'm a huge fan that personalized data is definitely going to be the way of the future when it comes to providing this data that these RWA assets definitely need. And AI is definitely going to be the route that's going to kind of translate all of that into what this really means in terms of an investment. So we've got about 10 minutes left. I appreciate everybody that has participated so far. Thanks to everybody that's tuning in as well. If you guys happen to have a question, feel free to throw it out in the comments below. I'll bring those up here in just a minute if there are any questions on this topic or for specific people on the panel. So again, throw those down in the comments. But kind of as a last question here, I know it gets asked sometimes, but realistically, in the next 5 years, if we could go to Mars and back in 10 minutes or so, where would you guys see, or where would you like to see AI and real world assets come together? What kind of sci-fi things are we looking to do with them? Go for it. Zip Clash, go for it.
Yeah, I mean, if we're talking about Mars, I'd love to own a piece of Mars. If there's any real estate up there that is happening, that would be really interesting. So that's the first thing that came to mind. I want to own some real estate.
Don't give Elon any ideas. All right, let's go with Robert. You're up next.
Yeah, I think in order to do that, you definitely need AI because, Mars is not owned by any one country. And unless it was fought over, militarily speaking, you would need some kind of third party objective non-human arbitrator to decide who gets what piece of land. So I think that would actually be one of the best use cases of AI. It's something completely outside of what we normally have on Earth here on Earth. So, weird question, but actually very relevant, I think.
That's why I asked it. Give you guys a curveball here at the last. So any other thoughts? Anybody else want to throw out some sci-fi ideas?
I got some ideas. If we're going to be really dreaming at the edge here, let's really go there, right? So I guess in 5 years, if we figured out a 10-minute Mars round trip, that means one thing. The boundary between physical and digital reality has completely collapsed. And that's exactly where AI and RWAs converge, right? In real time, intelligent ownership of everything that matters, the Earth and beyond. So imagine this, right? A decentralized orbital mining DAO that tokenizes mineral from asteroids. Right? Or like an AI agents that manage the extraction of logistics, convert the outputs into, say, tokenized commodities and autonomously settle trades with Earth-based manufacturing hubs, right? Or the yield that comes from the data and labor, tokenized, fractionalized, distributed to people holding governance tokens on Earth, in virtual reality, or maybe even on Mars, or, so yeah, in 5 years, we might not just own land. We might own intelligent, self-managed digital twins of every asset that we touched. And we're trying to lay the groundwork for that reality where AI doesn't just help us manage the world, it helps us expand it. So yeah, great question.
Tech Talk, go for it.
Well, if we're talking about huge advancements in AI, then let's merge it with robotics and set up football stadiums on the moon and watch robots or androids play football on the moon.
That would be awesome. That totally reminded me of, I played this old game on Sega called Mutant League Football, and I don't know why, but my mind just went to that. So thank you. The old nostalgia of it. No, that's good. Anybody else have anything they want to add?
I have a small one. So, not going so far away from it, but talking about, what we call soccer. I don't know what you guys call it. To call it like that. It's supposed to be called football. But anyways, I knew a project from a football team in Spain that's called Betis, and they were selling pieces of the pitch in NFTs for their the people who support the team and stuff like that. I can imagine now like being able to do the same, but I will buy like the left foot of Messi or something like that. You know what I mean? Like being able of acquiring that stuff. That would be awesome.
For sure. My son works for a local movie theater, and about 2 years ago, they did an NFT popcorn bucket, that if you paid for, I think it was like $300 at the time, it would give you lifetime bucket, you could get one bucket per day type of thing filled for it. And so it was just funny to see how people are getting into this whole tokenization of everything. So, way cool. Anybody else have anything? We do have one question, but I just want to make sure that we get all of our trips to Mars out. So the question that was asked is, what about plagiarism and IP rights? How can AI basically help with that?
Oh, provenance, that's what blockchain does really well. It's the origin and handling of information. It could be an asset, but it could be information like intellectual property or ideas. And so I think if we structure this properly, as we contribute ideas to the realm of artificial intelligence, we should have some sort of attribution courtesy of the blockchain. And I think that's how we remedy that. That's why this is a really great combination, blockchain and artificial intelligence. It's not just the accessing or use of data, but it's the trust and attribution of data.
Agreed. So yeah, great topic today, guys. We definitely appreciate all of our panelists for joining us. Likewise, give them a follow. They definitely deserve it. We got some good people building some great projects up here. Again, thanks to all of you guys for tuning in as well. We appreciate you. Again, couldn't do this without you. It's definitely RWAs are still in the infancy stage. There's a lot of cool use cases and studies that are being done on it, but definitely just scratching the surface of things that we can do. But yeah, if you guys want to just give a quick little shout out to how these people can follow you, that would be fantastic. We'll go back around the horn. We'll start in reverse order this time. We'll go with Fuse AI first.
Hey, everybody. Yeah. Thanks so much for having us today here. We do have a nice presence here that we're building here on X. You can get us at FuseAI_net. And yeah, we would love to collaborate with you guys on future events. And we are so excited to continue learning with you guys and growing with this beautiful space. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for coming. Soulbound, you got your hand up. Go for it.
And I just wanted to share something very quick. So I think some of you already know, but we're running like bounties with AVAX and doing stuff very cool there every week. Right now, there's this bounty for Castle Flatwater and Off the Grid. So if you guys are already playing, you can just jump in, stream it for a while, monetize, and yeah, just cash out from playing. Tomorrow we have our space too, so we would love to have you all there. I'll update the title on X co-host later today, but I just have to put a title as a placeholder. So yeah, we'd love to see some of you there tomorrow, so we can keep on digging on the conversation of the ecosystem. So yeah, love you all.
Thank you for participating. Let's go with Tech Talk next.
Thanks for having me on the space. This is really awesome. I think we need a lot more conversations about RWA in the future, and the visionaries here have been very insightful. I think I've learned more than I expected, that's for sure. Great crew. Find me at Tech Talks with Paul on YouTube. You can find the links in my X account. And I've got YouTube. You can go to my website, has all the information. Reach out to me. There's a contact form. I do not only the videos, but I do consulting work for Web3 projects, deployed thousands of contracts across dozens of chains, and kind of build a lot of projects from the ground up. So reach out if you have any questions.
Love it. Likewise, join us every week. We do this at 10 a.m. on Wednesdays, Eastern Standard Time. So welcome back anytime. Let's go with Robert next.
Yeah, happy we were able to do this. My Twitter handle is here, of course, but please follow us at Oasis Protocol. We mainly are on Twitter, so that's the main way we communicate. And yeah, we're always focused about privacy, and we're happy to, go on more spaces and that sort of thing to spread the message and make people understand why it's so important. But yeah, I'm just happy to do this. Thank you.
That's all we can do, right? Open our mouths and talk about it. Zip Clash, let's go with you, my friend.
Yes, sir, Cody. Thanks so much for hosting. Thanks so much for having us. Super happy to be here with everybody. Enjoyed the conversation and chimed in when I can. I'm always learning more and more about RWAs, so had to be here. Yeah, I guess for us, we're going to have our, currently we're available on Android. We will be available on iOS very soon. We're also supposed to be launching our NFT collection on Immutable very soon, so stay tuned, everybody. Well, it might be a free mint, so we'll probably be giving out some whitelist spots for that. But until then, catch us on some spaces, give us a follow. I mean, for that matter, give everybody here on stage a follow. If you're not already following everybody here, I don't know what you're doing. But yeah, thanks for having us, guys. I got to jump to my next call. Thanks so much for having us, and this was fun.
Likewise, as always, legend. Appreciate you. And Matthew, bring us home, my friend.
Absolutely. So, yeah, thank you, everyone. Soulbound, send me a DM. I want to know what microphone you're using. I've never heard quality so crisp and clear. As for me, I'm sort of building my X presence. You can see my company.
Say again, Matt. I lost you for a second. You said Soulbound, and then I like.
Please let me know what microphone you're using because the quality is phenomenal.
HyperX Quadcast S.
Awesome. Yeah, so everyone can find me here on Twitter. Building is in my bio. We've got a small little LinkedIn presence, but we're a force to reckon with. We do a lot on LinkedIn. If you're on LinkedIn, certainly reach out. Same name, Matthew Schneider there. And happy to talk about tokenization, data, real estate, and just continue to build something big.
Awesome. We'll probably be reaching out to you, Matt. We've got some stuff cooking on the Web2 side of things with LinkedIn that we'll be doing in the upcoming month. So
perfect.
Yeah, I'll reach out to you on LinkedIn for sure. So again, thanks everybody for tuning in. We appreciate you. Until next time, grab the bull by the horns and take control of your week and make it happen. So thanks everybody. Have a great week. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.